Good afternoon, I'm Giovanni Dennis with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're joining us online at onespotmedia.com. Consultant sociologist and university lecturer Georgia Crawford Williams is urging the government to use alternative measures to help contain the spread of COVID-19. Mrs. Crawford Williams says the current safety protocols are not tailored to the socio-economic realities of citizens, and that may be the reason people continue to breach the measures. Sandy Williams has the details.
Despite the increased number of COVID-19 cases and the rising death toll from the COVID-19 virus, people insist on breaching the safety protocols implemented by the government. Consultant sociologist and university lecturer Georgia Crawford Williams says it may be challenging for some people to adhere to the measures for the purpose of survival. Mrs. Crawford Williams explains that in order for the measures to work, they must be tailored to the socio-economic realities of the citizens.
I'll give you an example. In Jamaica, we're hearing that there should be no events. Now, in Jamaica, there are over 500 primary schools. Normally, at least 2 vendors are operating at that primary school, and usually far more. But I'm just going to use 2 just for the purposes that we might have some schools that had none. Yeah. So we're talking about 1,000 persons that since March have had absolutely no income since March last year. It just upped and braps, it stopped. Now, these individuals still have to eat.
With some of the measures squeezing people's income, Mrs. Crawford Williams says the COVID-19 restrictions need to be reviewed.
If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your physiological needs come before your need for safety. So it is illogical to say that events can't be held or you're going to try to lock down every event when I saw people they must survive. People who had other sources of income before and they don't have it right now.
She is urging the government to tailor COVID-19 solutions to the reality of citizens.
In Ethiopia, they have been training midwives and persons who walk around in the villages to deliver babies. They've been training them as surgeons. The WHO has been doing it because they found that they had a chronic lack of surgeons, and the result is that they have lots and lots of deaths. And so what they did was to tailor their solution to the reality of the people. And now these midwives, these people that had no medical training before, they are now doing life-saving surgeries. And what I do know is that what we have been doing right now is not working. So we have to try something new.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Jamaica has secured an additional 20,000 Moderna vaccines for immunizing against COVID-19. However, that shipment will not get to the island until another 3 weeks. Shamila Pullen reports.
On Wednesday, India announced a temporary hold on all exports of COVID-19 vaccines. This delay is a setback for Jamaica, which is set to get the AstraZeneca vaccine produced in that country. But speaking on Power 106 Morning Agenda on Thursday, Chairman of the National Health Fund, NHF, Howard Mitchell, says Jamaica has secured some 20,000 doses of the Moderna vaccines. They are to arrive in the island soon.
We are in dialogue with about 25 suppliers. We have issued a purchase order for a small amount of Moderna. We've managed to get that. And that's not here yet. Working out the logistics of it. We hope that that will come in the next 3 weeks. And the rest of our commitments, unfortunately, come in April. And in late April and in early May. And that's the issue. The big issue is to fill the gap. Mm-hmm. And we were hopeful of the COVAX supply and one other supplier, which I suspect has been affected by this.
But despite this bit of good news, Mr. Mitchell says, based on what is happening with vaccine supplies and shipments, Jamaica's vaccination timetable could be affected from mid-April.
Because AstraZeneca was one of the first vaccines to market, and so that there are more persons who have allocations. How this works is that way back last year and even before, vaccine development was funded by government in the countries that the manufacturers are based in, and also by investors, by financiers. So those people got allocation, which now, in order to recoup their money, they are attempting to sell on the open market. Their allocations is not production. So they sell you the option to take the production when it is effective. And that's part of the challenge to iron out those flows.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mitchell wants the government to broaden the spectrum for private practitioners to have access to other COVID-19 medications for Jamaicans to access.
I'm making a personal appeal to the Ministry of Health, right, and to the people who control the importation of medication that the doctors are desperately in need of. Remdesivir, for instance. It's a tool for the doctors to use to fight the infection by the virus. We need to be more proactive and more thoughtful in granting permits for these things.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
458 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed on Wednesday. The number of confirmed cases now stands at 37,128. Kingston and St. Andrew recorded most of the new cases with 183, followed by St. Catherine with 100. Meanwhile, one more Jamaican has died from the virus. The number of COVID-19 deaths now stands at 546. The latest person to succumb to the illness is a 75-year-old from St. Elizabeth. Meanwhile, 429 persons remain in hospital. 44 are critically ill. There are 19,589 active cases. Members of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation's Public Health and Sanitation Committee are concerned about the state of morgues in the parish. This is in light of the restrictions on burials and funerals since March 8. Assistant Chief Public Health Inspector for St. Catherine, Denise Douglas, responded to the concerns at the committee's recent meeting.
Public health officers are in fact monitoring all morgues or facilities that store human remains, and we should be able to provide you with a report shortly, because we're still in the process of monitoring the morgues. But so far we have not found any major issue as yet.
Under the recent amendments to the burial orders, interments are now permitted effective Wednesday. Burials are now only allowed Mondays to Fridays, except on holidays, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., lasting no more than 30 minutes. And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when we return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. Sections of West Kingston remain tense following a shooting incident in Tivoli Gardens last night. 2 men are dead while another is nursing gunshot wounds. TVJ News understands that gunmen stormed an area known as Java sometime after 7 o'clock. After the shooting subsided, 3 persons were discovered suffering from gunshot wounds. 2 later succumbed to their injuries. Head of the Police Corporate Communications Unit, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, gave an update.
A group of men traveling in a car entered the Tivoli Gardens area with high-powered weapons, where they saw a group of persons at a location in the community and they opened fire at those individuals. At the end of the shooting, 3 persons received gunshots. 2 later succumbed to their injuries.
She says a swift action by the police has led to the arrest of 2 persons and a motor car was also seized. Now the police are also seeking the public's assistance in finding several persons of interest. The cries from residents of Marvally Drive in St. Thomas for the authorities to fix the road in their community have been answered. As you'll hear in this report, a recent visit to the community by TVJ News saw rehabilitation works in full swing. Sandy Williams has the details.
This is what the road in Marvally Drive, St. Thomas, looked like after it was battered by heavy rains last October. However, the residents say the road was already in a deplorable condition for many years, and they have been calling on the authorities to fix it.
We need a road, proper road. We are tired of it now. Councillor, everybody, we need you can look at this. We are so tired of it. I can't come out dressing my clothes. I have to put on a big boot on my foot to come out. And when I come out, I have to leave it up the road and wash off my foot and lotion to come out.
But their cries have not fallen on deaf ears. In a recent visit to the community by TVJ News, men were seen carrying out rehabilitation works on the Marvelly Drive and other roads in the area. The road, which once resembled a dry riverbed, now looks like this. Councillor for the Yalas Division, John Lee, says the road work was necessary.
The residents, along with myself, are happy that we are actually getting a road that we can drive on comfortable to and fro. If the square should block, this is the only alternative to take you out of the square.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
The government will be spending more than $100 million for the transportation of sugarcane for the current crop season. Minister of Education, Youth and Information Favour Williams made the revelation at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing.
Cabinet gave approval for the utilization of existing funds within the Sugar Industry Authority and the Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings Limited to provide transportation and logistics support for the movement of 35,000 tons of sugarcane for the 2020-2021 crop year. This will amount to $119 million.
Ms. Williams explained the cash redistribution.
The funds for the transportation support and logistics support will be reallocated from the approximately $177 million previously allocated to the Sugar Industry Authority and Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings Limited. Over the past 3 years, the government has expended over $500 million in support to facilitate the transportation of sugarcane and to effect repairs to cane roads as part of the continued support to farmers and other stakeholders within the industry.
To news and sports now, the Reggae Boyz will look to end their European journey on a high when they take on the USA in their friendly international in Austria today. Now, the build-up to the game has with it all the drama possible, but a victory on Thursday will almost put a lid on things. Jermaine Brown reports.
It's an assignment that came with a number of issues. Some players saying no to the JFF, emergency departures, late withdrawals, and positive COVID-19 tests. The Reggae Boyz have seen it all. But despite the dark cloud, they'll be hoping for a silver lining amidst the face masks and isolations. With several familiar faces opting to watch from their sofas, one of those who chose to soldier on with the task is the veteran UK-born defender Adrian Mariappa, who will be making his 50th appearance for the Reggae Boyz.
People have talked about commitment and obviously being UK-based and born in England, but I can assure you, for them, it's an incredibly proud moment for them to be called up and to be involved, with Jamaica, and they wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case.
Having not had the luxury of preparation, just how ready is the team for the assignment? Mariappa believes the game will tell on Thursday.
Everyone's clear on their positions, obviously, or the way we're going to play, etc. We'll see how it goes. Time is not a luxury that we had. Obviously, it's a short time frame to prepare, but we're all professional about it, so we go out there to do the job.
Also making the trip to Austria is 29-year-old Watford striker Andre Gray, who's getting his first invitation.
I've always wanted to. It's just been a very long process to get my grandparents' things together and everything. So it's been a few years since I've been speaking with them and trying to get it done, and finally we managed to do it now.
So, having been around the group, he says there are no grey areas heading into the game.
We've got a good group, and we've had a good time so far, and just looking forward to the game now and tomorrow.
Gray warmed up for Thursday's game with a goal against Birmingham on Saturday, and now he's looking to do the same for the Reggae Boyz.
Hopefully a lot of goals, that's what I want to do, and experience as well. I'm nearly 30 now, so I've played for quite a while, and hope I can just help the boys and achieve our goal.
The game will be carried live on TVJ SN and on Hits 92 FM at 12:30 p.m. and delayed on TVJ at 2 p.m.
The West Indies lost just 1 wicket in the morning session as chasing 375 for victory. They are 91 for 2 at lunch on the 5th and final day of the first test against Sri Lanka. This at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. Now they require a further 284 runs with 8 wickets. Jamaica's Nkrumah Bonner is on 50 and Kyle Myers is at the crease. He's on 12. They are the not-out batsmen for the Windies. Now the Windies resumed on 34 for 1 this morning. Now Captain Craig Brathwaite went just before lunch for 23 to Lasith Mbudiana. Vishwa Fernando is the other wicket taker for the Sri Lankans. Now scores in the match: Sri Lanka 169 and the West Indies 271 and 91 for 2. Now just to give you the very latest in the game, the West Indies are now actually 107 for 2 after lunch. Bonner is on 50 and Kyle Myers on 17. And that's the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.